Welcome to our second book review of this fall's book Sandwiched In series, sponsored by the Friends of the Tulsa Library. Just as a plug for the Friends, please check out the information that you've been reading, and if you would like to join, we'd be glad to have you. If you need different information, then if you'll check tulsalibrary.org/friends, that will get you to our homepage. Today, our book is Greenlights by Matthew McConaughey. And I must say, I'm looking forward to Joe Johnston's review of this book, because his opinion is a little bit different than what you would usually get when you hear a book review from our Tulsa book Sandwiched In series. Joe was born in St. Louis, grew up in Tulsa, and worked in Cleveland, Ohio, Dallas, Texas, and before he spent almost 30 years in Nashville. He holds a bachelor's degree in journalism and master's in mass communication, both from Oklahoma State University. He is an author, artist, songwriter, music producer, marketing executive, speaker, and teacher. Joe worked for national advertising agencies before founding his own successful Dallas marketing firm, working with accounts like General Motors, Pizza Hut, and Whataburger. As a songwriter, music producer, and publisher with a Grammy-winning album to his credit, he has contributed to sales of over 15 million albums on 7 different record labels, working with artists like Vince Gill, Waylon Jennings, George Strait, Leanne Rimes, and Marty Stewart. Joe is a member of the Will Rogers High School Hall of Fame, alongside such notables as Leon Russell and S.C. Hinton. Joe is proud of his Native American heritage and enjoys hiking, gardening, and horses. Before Joe begins his review, I would like to say, please type in your questions in the chat feature of Zoom, and then I will read those at the end of his presentation. Joe, thank you, and please begin your review. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Janet. Thank you to the Friends of Tulsa City County Library. And thanks to my lifelong friend, Cindy Pryor McDonald, who signed me up for this gig. And thanks to all of you for being here. Raise your hand if you swoon at the mention of Matthew McConaughey's name. Okay. Okay, both of you put your hand down. Okay, just kidding. So does Matthew star in some of your favorite movies? Which kind? He's known for his romantic comedies like Failure to Launch and How to Lose a Guy. He's also known for his more serious movies like Time to Kill and Dallas Buyers Club, for which he won an Academy Award. Well, like his movie career, this is sort of the tale of 2 books, the Audible and the textbook. I'm not an Audible book guy, and our daughter just plows through them. So she just was telling me one time that I really need to give it a try. Joe, you've got to listen to some audiobooks. So I said, okay, I'll try that. And she said, well, here's a great one to start with. Matthew McConaughey, Greenlights. Okay, that sounded okay. So I start listening to this, and it is funny, it's charming, it's typical Matthew. And I didn't get very far into it until I got really tired of Matthew McConaughey talking about himself. But, that's it. That's what it is. So I set it aside and thought, well, maybe I'll go back to it one of these days. Well, 2 days later, I got a call from the library to do this review. And of course, I thought that was a sign from God that I'm supposed to really get into this book. And Cindy assured me that if God were going to recommend a book to me, it would not be this one. Okay, so this is the print edition with a picture of our boy on the cover there. This is a designer's playground, is the first thing you notice about it. It is beautiful, exciting, scary, crazy, a surprise at every turn. The first thing you'll notice is, see the tan up here and the tan down here? The book cover, the dust cover, does not fit the book. Why? Nobody knows. Maybe Matthew knows. Okay, so inside we have, of course, color pictures of our boy, mostly shirtless. There are at least 15 shirtless photographs of Matthew here. So we got these full color ones. You'll see they've turned the title Greenlights into a street light where all the lights are green. This thing is a tactile delight. It is embossed. The cover is slick, but it's tacky. I've never felt anything exactly like it. It is gold stamped. I don't know what else you could do to a book cover. It's everything. So this is two different experiences. We've got the Audible book and we've got this little gem. Another journalist said that the text can be digressive. It jumps from one subject to another. That's certainly true. And sometimes, he says, indulgent. Matthew McConaughey, indulgent? Come on. Okay, so, but as an audiobook, he says, Matthew's, quote, strange and irresistible staccato speaking style conveys emotion missed by a traditional reader. And I think that's spot on. When I listen to it, it's quite entertaining. When I read it, the voice in my head doesn't sound like Matthew's. And so the book doesn't translate the same way. It's a very different experience. My suspicion is that Matthew stayed drunk for about 4 days talking into a tape recorder, then worked with an editor to boil this down to a 4-hour audiobook. Then a different editor turned it into this. Is it a memoir? Well, that's a common question. And if you look this up if you Google this book, that's the first thing you'll find is a lot of people talking about whether it's a memoir. It sort of is. First of all, he's not old enough to write a memoir. He's only 50. And it's not a life story. It is snapshots of his life. Okay, getting back to the visual. We have, let's see if I can find one here. There are lots of them. Oh my goodness. Great, Joe. There we go. At the end of this little section, there is a tiny green print, Greenlights. Greenlights means something has happened to tell him to go ahead. What he's thinking or what he's doing is exactly right. Plunge ahead. Okay, so we have those in here. We have black pages like this one with teeny type that is impossible to read. We have, let's see, where's that? We have junky pages like this spread is printed on gray. The text is handwritten really teeny. And then in case it's not hard enough to read, we highlighted some of it in green. Let's see, what was the other thing? Oh, yeah, and then we have sticky notes like this. We have bumper stickers like this. They're not really bumper stickers, it's just what he calls them. Now this is interesting, words of wisdom. If you're high enough, the sun's always shining. So, okay. These little interruptions always follow a story, but they don't always follow the story, if you follow me. Okay. So he tells little bits, little stories, little observations, little clips of things from his life. And they're not strung together. They're just in here and interrupted by little pieces. I want to also tell you in the frontispiece, all these beautiful color pictures of Matthew with all this text around them. That is also handwritten, really teeny, almost impossible to read. And none of these captions tell you what's happening or where he is in the picture. It's a lot of stuff in there. So what does he talk about in this thing? Well, he talks about his dysfunctional family. His parents were married and divorced 3 times. His mother's pointy finger was broken 3 times by his father because she pointed at him too much when they argued. He talks about his brothers, and this is what he says. We come from a loving family. We may not have always liked each other, but we always loved each other. We hug, we kiss, we wrestle and fight. So I don't know if you noticed, but he changed tenses in the middle of that paragraph. That's a clue to the way Matthew writes. I prefer my authors to be conscious of the tense that they're in, but you know, that's not for everyone, I guess. He also mixes metaphors. Here's a little sticky note. Sometimes we find our frequency by holding to a moral bottom line in the midst of chaos. Okay. Sometimes we find it by breaking the rules and running the red light to get home. So we have a highway, we have frequency, moral bottom line, chaos, breaking the rules, red lights, and getting home. That's all in that little sticky note. If you have long enough, you can probably figure out what that means. Okay, back to the family. His dad finally accepted him after they got into a bar fight. No, Matthew started a bar fight. And it was so intense, he was on the ground punching a guy in the face until people pulled him off the guy. That's when his father accepted him. And Matthew draws no conclusions, no moral lessons, nothing. He just tells the story. The book is also laced with profanity and gives you way too much information about Matthew's bodily functions. So I would be careful who you recommend it to. Okay. So he sort of grows up. He goes to University of Texas, joins a fraternity. He goes to acting class and doesn't get along with the acting kids because they're so artsy. I think one of the most interesting things he tells is about getting out of high school. And before he went to college, he became a foreign exchange student. He finished high school as a foreign exchange student in Australia. But even more interesting, I think, is about his trips to the Amazon jungle. He went alone, apparently, seeking spiritual gurus and teachers and learning about people of different cultures. One of my favorite parts of the book is when he meets a priest and walks with this priest in the desert for a long time. And the priest doesn't speak, but he does. He takes it as an opportunity to confess. Quote, I tried to be a good man, to not lie, not deceive myself, and to be more pure of heart and mind, but I'm full of lust, objectifying other people and myself. I do not feel a connection to my past, nor the path to my future. I'm lost. I don't feel myself. It's one of the most real things in the book. It's probably as real as when he talks about going bald and trying a treatment for that. So this, as one of my friends said, he identifies as a free-spirited hippie. And, I forgot to tell you the best story in the book is when he talks about he came home from work really, really tired and decided to get high on marijuana, play some music really loud, take off his clothes and play his bongos really loud along with the music. The neighbors called the cops. The cops came to arrest him. He didn't answer the door, so the cops broke the door down, arrested him. He argued with him, and they charged him with resisting arrest. So, as my friend observed, he identifies as a free-spirited hippie, yet plays golf at the country club. He was a barefoot country boy, or was he a fraternity man? Can we pick and choose which laws we want to follow, or do we want to be governor of Texas? Yes, he is considered a candidate for the governor of Texas, And in polls, he's leading the current governor, Greg Abbott. He even has the endorsement of Ted Cruz. So everybody bongo naked, right? Matthew is a captivating storyteller in audio. I find him not so captivating in print. The book is not so much a memoir as it is a way to get to his words of wisdom, bumper stickers, sticky notes, etc. I hope that you don't need Matthew McConaughey to shape your worldview or your personal philosophy. His philosophy is skewed, it's situational at best, full of contradictions, a head-spinning thing. Get this one. This is great. Have you ever shot a bow and arrow? Pretty hard to do. Well, here's why we don't understand. Matthew explains the arrow doesn't seek the target draws the arrow. Oh my gosh. We must be aware of what we attract in life because no accident or coincidence. The spider waits in his web for dinner to come. Yes, we must chase what we want, seek it out, cast our lines in the water, but sometimes we don't need to make things happen. Our souls are infinitely magnetic. So this is from a man who chases his spiritual gurus around the globe. This is a man who auditions for a movie role and then tells the director, I don't want that, I want this other role. Then when he gets the role, he throws away the script and ad-libs his lines, or at least that's the way he tells it. So he works pretty hard at making his arrows hit the target and does not depend on the target to draw them. Okay. Again, I'm going to give you another example. I like this example. This black thing is called Tribes. So just so you know, he would be finishing a story and then suddenly in the audio book, he will say Tribes and he'll start reading this. And the idea of this is that there are a lot of different people in the world and we all share the same values. They have helped me understand the common denominator of mankind, values. I think that's what we all want, to believe in and to be believed in. So he tries really hard. And I will say this about all this soup of philosophy. As rambling as it is, if you want to sit and think about these things, most of them make a lot of sense in a Matthew McConaughey sort of way. I think this is innovative reading, and it's a thinking experience for people whose especially for people whose lives on social media have left them with a short attention span. It's got little stories, disconnected observations and advice. You pick it up, you open it and read a page, then a passage, then you can go check your phone again. I don't mean to be critical when I say this may be the only kind of reading that a lot of people do. So that's fine. Let's keep people engaged with books. It's a book for people who don't read books. I wouldn't say I exactly recommend Greenlights. It's more like I challenge you to read this book or listen to this book. If you want to love it, read it if you want to complain about it like I do. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. I'm not. You've either given the greatest sales pitch or the worst pan that there ever was. But I think there'll be a lot of people who will want to try and read it just to see if it's as bad as you portrayed it.
Exactly.
Oh, I'm not seeing any questions listed at the moment. I've seen a couple of fun comments. Somebody definitely knows his line. All right, all right, all right.
All right. Yeah.
So if there are no further questions, I would like to put in a sales pitch for our third review of the fall season, The Overstory by Richard Powers. This won the 2019 Pulitzer Prize for Fiction. It's about activism and the evocation of the natural world. Mike Perkins, the director of operations for Up with Trees, will be reviewing that next Monday at 12:10. The Our usual time frame, and that should be a very interesting book to have reviewed as well. Joe, thank you once again for taking the
We
time.
do.
We do have some a question now.
Oh, okay. There it came up. Sorry. Okay, Joe, did you like Matthew before the book? Did your opinion change after the book?
That's funny. I actually really respond to his bravado. It's like he says, black is white. And you go, yeah, that's right. He says it with such conviction. So, I get a kick out of him. I loved Dallas Buyers Club. He was terrific in that. He became a skeleton. He lost so much weight to play that role of a man with AIDS. He has one of my favorite adventure comedies, Sahara. So yeah, I think he's great. On the other hand, really got a kick out of the other reviewers saying the book is indulgent. He is so indulgent. And if you've seen him in those Lincoln commercials where he sits in a car and reads obscure text that sounds like it could come from the book. He didn't write those. They have advertising writers who wrote those commercials, but it sounds just like this. May I respond to the other question before that? Oh, my opinion did not change. I mean, I think he is exactly, as my friend Cindy says, it's not a persona. This is who he is. And can I respond to that other question, Jen?
Sure. Let me read it so that when people are listening to this, they'll know. Peggy Wolf said, I have to agree with you. I am guessing that this book is intended to attract more Texans to his campaign. I think you agree. Is that correct?
For sure. Matthew, it seems like a campaign. Of course, he's from Texas and he loves Texas and all that. The book is not all about Texas, but it's a lot about Texas. He's teaching now a film class at the University of Texas, and they have given him a title, which I meant to look up, and I won't take time to do that now, but he mentions it a couple of times in the book. He's very proud of the title. It's something like God of Culture, something like that, cultural czar of Texas. And in terms of pop culture, he is probably the most recognizable figure, alumnus from the University of Texas. So I want to read you this about his political. I thought I get a kick out of this. I come from a long line of rule breakers. Well, we know that. Outlaw libertarians who vote red down the line. Now, what's funny about that is that by definition, a libertarian does not vote down any line. But so we are outlaw libertarians who vote red down the line because they believe it'll keep fewer outlaws from trespassing on their territory. I think that's his platform right there.
Oh, in the meantime, we've got a couple of other comments. One, it is interesting that he does not do a kiss and tell in this book. Got to admire him for that. But the question is, do you think he could live anywhere else in Texas besides Austin?
A good point. It's a place where the hippies drink beer with the state government officials. You're right. Austin is the perfect place for Matthew.
Probably the only place in Texas.
The only place, yeah.
Well, I think that's all the comments that we've gotten. And once again, thank you so much for the review. We really appreciate it. And for those of you who are participating, we hope to see you Zoom wise next week for The Overstory by Richard Powers, who the book will be presented by Mike Perkins of Up with Trees. Thanks and have a good afternoon. Bye.